to do what it is you need to have done in your life. Reverend Tony touched on something that is so dear to me because I was living large, y'all. I was living large in a condo on Lakeshore Drive, North Shore in Chicago, living living housekeeper, doorman downstairs with long white gloves, commissary in the building, dry cleaners in the building, living large. Walk across the street and be right on Lake Michigan watching the yachts. God said, I went to a church, and the pastor wasn't my church, and the pastor wasn't there. We had a guest speaker. And the guest speaker said that God has called every one of you for something, to serve in his kingdom. You have a place in his kingdom. Now, what I need you to do is find your place. And I went home and I fell on my knees and I prayed for 2 weeks. And I said, God, I said, what is it? Whatever you say is what I'm going to do. Remind you, I was living large. And I said, God, whatever you say. So about 2 weeks later, the Holy Spirit tapped me on my shoulder in my office on Lakeshore Drive. This was on one of these whacker in a tall, beautiful bank building with big fancy restaurants downstairs and everything. And he said, did you mean it? I said, did I mean what? Now, honest, I had forgot I even prayed the prayer for 2 weeks. He said, did you mean it? I said, did I mean what? He said that you said you would give up everything in your life and follow me. I did say that, didn't I? I had to think about that. I really had to think about that. Because now I'm getting scared inside. I'm getting some anxiety. You're going to ask me to do something that's going to have to be awfully powerful for you to come at me like that, right? Right. And so he said, I need you to leave Chicago, go back to Spring Arbor, Michigan, and start your ministry. And I'm like, wait, hold up. I got 2 little kids. You want me to quit this big fancy job that I have? You want me to give up my condo and all this stuff that I'm enjoying and go do some ministry? I grew up in the church, but I told y'all earlier, I never saw myself as ministerial material. It wasn't me. I was like Joe Osteen. It wasn't me. And so I went back to my office the next morning, and I said, let me think about this. That night I went and sat down on Lake Michigan. And now, mind you, I'm sitting in the grass, looking in the water, moon over my shoulder. And I said, God, this is going to be pretty powerful, whatever it is you're trying to get me to do. But remember, I have 2 small children. You just told me to give up everything. My job, my home, my everything, and come and follow you. What am I supposed to do? You need to give me something to hold on to. Because it was like my eyes being closed and I was walking in the pitch blackness off a boat somewhere, right? I'm about to drown. So I said, give me something to hold on to. I didn't know what I meant by that. I had no idea what that could be. But he said to me, while I was sitting on Lake Michigan, in the grass, staring at the water, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He leads me beside the still waters. What I said I was doing, y'all? Staring in the water. Makes me lie down in the green pastures. I was sitting on the grass, right? So he and the moon was over my shoulders, the big, beautiful moon. From that time, the next morning, I went to my office. I wrote my resignation, put it in my outbox for my secretary. I gave him 2 weeks' notice. Who would have thought? Y'all, I was 27. I didn't know nothing about no money being saved on your job. They brought me a check 2 days later for $10,000. I don't even know to this day what the check was for. Somebody said your 401k or your savings. To this day, I was a kid. I didn't know what that was. But I know that God provided. I called the college that he sent me to, which I grew up in Jackson, Michigan. Spring Garden was 15 miles up the road. All white, KKK. I called the college and asked them, did they have married housing because I had 2 sons. They said no. I promise you within the next half hour, they called me back and said, we have a 2-bedroom for you. God is not going to call you unless he prepares the way for you. I left when we moved in. They were calling us niggas while we were, my 2 sons and I, the only blacks in the whole city. While we were moving in, they were calling us niggas. God is not going to call you unless he prepares you. I walked up out of that college with every award humanly possible. I don't even know. I can't say I don't know because I do know it was God. Amen. So all I'm saying to you today is you have a place in the kingdom and you need to ask God because he will tell you. Amen. Ask him what your place is. Amen. And then know, like this brother right here and everybody else has said, when you believe, pray in faith, believing, and it will be done. So believe that if he calls you, he's already prepared the way. When he sends you, go. And that's all I want to say. Find your place in the kingdom.
Amen. Amen. We need to be